Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports for today's Raptors Happy Hour stream. We're here today for Wednesday, November 19th, and we got a good show planned for you guys today. Some fun topics to discuss, and it's always a fun day when you can look at the NBA standings and you can see the Toronto Raptors in third in the Eastern Conference. It feels pretty surreal. I think I'm going to get a nosebleed from how high up we are right now. To some teams, this isn't much. We're only 9-5. But to us, we've been through hell with this team the last few years. It's really nice to be in a good position to standings. It's really nice to be winning more often than you're losing. It's a good day to be happy. Don't let other people tell you can't be happy about some random Tuesday night win or Monday night win against the almighty Charlotte Hornets. Don't let them rain down on your parade, okay? Enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well. But as much as the Raptors have been great this season, are playing very well, we know that, as much as all of that's going in the right direction, they could still stand to improve, actually, and get even better than they're doing right now. That's not a negative thing. That's a positive thing. It'd be, they're playing great, but if they could be even better, that would be also great, would it not? So, hopefully we can investigate into that over the course of the stream today. And in the way we're going to investigate it, I hinted at it pretty largely in last week's watch along. We're going to talk about it a little bit more today. We're going to be discussing whether that could be involved with the starting five changing for the Raptors. Not because the players haven't played well, but because maybe it's not a great fit. And the Raptors can't keep starting games basically 5 points behind because the starting five isn't really working together at the moment. We're going to investigate it. We're not going to make a big proclamation. We're going to investigate if a starting five change is better for the Raptors. We'll look at that. Then we're going to look once again, at Brandon Ingram, because after he's played well, and after he's starting to get some media acclaim for playing well, he's now starting to get attacked by other media members. People do not want to concede that the Raptors may have made a good trade here involving Brandon Ingram. So we're going to look into that as well, based on what the Raptors gave up in order to make that trade happen. But along the way, of course, I like to get the chat involved, listen to you, answer your questions, talk to you. Any thoughts you have, any questions you have, please put them in the live chat, and that'll help drive the show as well. And take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We have Gregory joining us, lovely 12-month member, and Spartan Thorn joining us in the early stage of the stream today. Sorry for starting a little bit late. I've been doing a lot of, not errands, not chores. I don't know how to describe it, but I don't even know how to describe, what would be like an at-home sort of errand where you're just setting up a bunch of accounts for your move and you're booking a ton of appointments, like getting insurance set up. I don't know how you describe that. That's what I've been doing. And then 30 minutes before stream started, I was supposed to put in a load of laundry that I needed to do, and my laundry machine is fucked. It's not working right now. I was trying to fix it. And then I couldn't get my clothes out because the damn thing was locked, but I couldn't unlock it because there was an issue with it, and it wouldn't let me touch any of the buttons. So anyways, just trying to figure all of that out right before the stream started. So apologies for being a little bit late today. Hopefully over the course of the stream we don't have any Wi-Fi issues as well. We have a double header on the stream tonight. We're here for the Raptors Happy Hour, as we are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And later tonight we have the Raptors playing against the 76ers. That game is at 7, so I'm going to be live at 6:45 for that one. So this will be a real double header. I need to rush to cook my dinner after the happy hour is done, but that's okay. Hopefully the washing machine's working. I'm going to leave it off for like an hour. Hopefully I go back and it's working again. Didn't even get to finish my my smoothie before stream started. Issues are half the fun of pods, Gregory says. Well, you had a lot of fun on Monday then, because on Monday the stream crashed at the start of the fourth quarter and didn't pick up until like there's 4 minutes left in the fourth. Like it just, my Wi-Fi, it's not that my Wi-Fi is bad. In fact, I've done tests on it. My Wi-Fi is very good. It's just randomly, it'll just go kaput for like 10 minutes. Not completely, but enough that I cannot stream effectively at all and can't do anything internet-wise. It doesn't shut off. Like, it'll still say I'm connected to the internet, but it just, like, completely does not work for, like, 1 to 10 minutes. It's just, it does my freaking head in that I'm doing all this work and I'm doing a good stream. It's a great game and tons of people are joining, and then, boom, Wi-Fi shuts off, and now everyone, like 80% of the people that were watching leave, and I don't blame them. Oh, so fucking annoying. Yeah, thanks. You know, it's just tough because, you know, I'm trying to grow the channel, and it's a bad impression for people not as invested as the regular. I know the regulars got me, and I appreciate that, but the people who aren't, I'm trying to make them regulars, and that doesn't help. Anyways, Spartan Thorne said, I remember when I said we would be top seed, you said it was hopeful. I mean, it still is. We're not home and clear, a surefire top 6 team. We've played. Look, it's been awesome. But we played 14 games, right? We have 68 games to go, and in the end, the Raptors are 1.5 games out of a play-in tournament position. They're 1.5 games up. Like, they could lose 2 games in a row, and then they could be in 7th all of a sudden. So it's not like we're a shoo-in to be a top. I mean, if you offer me right now top 6 seed, I'd still take it. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna be like, well, I don't know, man. We're a 3 seed after 14 games. Feel like I'm going to gamble and let's do a little bit more. I think our ceiling is a little bit higher based on how well they're playing, but I would still, if you offer me 6th place right now, I'd say yes. It's a long season. I'm happy. I think we could do better than that, but I still think that'd be a pretty great end of season if we're a top 6 seed. I'd be happy. No play-in. You get in theory, an easier first-round matchup because you're playing the 3 seed. That's something I'd be willing to take. It's the best part because we, the viewer, can. Well, that's great. It's just, and you know what? The chat, you guys, a lot of you didn't abandon me, and the ones who didn't abandon me, you struck gold because what a finish to that game against the Charlotte Hornets. I know it's just the Hornets. I know. But, man, like, can we not enjoy these things? I said it after the game happened, but this is a game they so often in the past have just found a way to lose. This is a game they'd lose, right? The bogey team, the speed bump type of game, the trap game, some people called it. This is the game that would have happened so often before, right? You know, we roll in. We're like, we got to win this game. We're on a run. This is the team we got to beat. We're way better than this team. And then we just shit our pants in the 4th and don't have an answer, and they win. We had the answers here. Like, Brandon Ingram was only 1 of 4 from the field in the 4th. But, like, the amount of attention he drew. Like, the last bucket of the game was that R.J. Barrett layup created because Brandon Ingram drew a very aggressive double. As the shot clock was winding down, he made a terrific pass to R.J. Barrett cutting to the rim, who collected and finished fantastically. And then the very next play, Brandon Ingram comes up with a humongous block on Ryan Kalkbrenner. Right after, not right after, but after earlier in the game, absolutely stuffing one on him at the rim for a huge poster. And then a play later, Scotty Barnes, as time expires, with a massive block on Colin Sexton for the Raptors to win. They came up with the big plays. This is a team that has been so poor in the clutch in recent years because of how bad their defense is and how bad their half-court offense is. But again, I don't care that it's Charlotte. Like, the Raptors of old find ways to lose. The Raptors of now, hopefully, this is a sign, are finding ways to win. And they found a way to win this game, improved to 9-5, improved to 3rd in the Eastern Conference like I said. Oh my God. That was a lot of fun that game. I'm still feeling the emotion of that win. That's how enjoyable it was. Envisioning Freeze, so there are lots of great games around the league today. Yes, there are. Rockets, Cavs. Is that I mean Golden State, Miami, pretty good game. Toronto, Philly is a pretty good game. There are some stinkers, like you said. OKC, Sacramento. The spread is 17.5. It's November. We're already getting March spreads in November. That's crazy. Minnesota's favored by 17 against Washington. What would OKC be favored by against Washington or Brooklyn? Who won that game? Washington Brooklyn played the other day. I actually forget who won. It was a real someone has to win game. Wow, Brooklyn beat Washington by 23 points. Oh my God. There's some really bad teams in the NBA right now. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Off top fluid at the same time we get a bribe. Well, thank you. Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate all the kind words. My goodness. Brandon says, what can we trade with Oche? Probably not a lot. It's unless the Raptors make a big move and insert him as filler. It's probably a deal just to kind of get off the contract, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be one that's bringing in anything great for the Raptors. Sausage says, Kalk what? Did I not say his name correctly? Ryan Kalkbrenner? Vacuum. It's like, what the hell is going on? Anyways, great win by the Raptors against the Hornets. That was a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun watching that. A lot of fun streaming that. Streams are a lot more fun when the Raptors are good, and I can root for the Raptors to actually win the game. That feels great. Upcoming schedule. We've got the 76ers tonight away from home. We gave them a good battle last time we played them. I know they won by 10, but we were in that game. We could have had some good opportunities there. Then it's Washington, Brooklyn back-to-back. And that Friday game against Washington is NBA Cup. We win that game, I believe we're confirmed in the second round. Could be 3-0 in the group. And at home against Washington, you should probably win that game. Brooklyn beat them by 23. You should probably be able to beat Washington at home. Who knows? The Hornets almost got us, so who knows? Who knows? Sorry you had to hear that. All right. Let's move on with the stream today. I talked about it a lot in the watch along we did. Just notice. I've been noticing it, and I really noticed it in that game as well. And it's just giving these teams this kind of head start. And it's in relation to the starting five. We know there's questions coming to the season, but we know there's talent. Everything. This is a talented starting five. There are talented players within the starting five, but we know there were questions about if it was a good fit of players. And even though all of the individuals within the starting five have played really well this season, and if it hasn't been the whole season, which it has been for Barrett, Barnes, and Ingram, it's been much better as of late, such as Emmanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl. All these players are playing well individually, but as a group, strangely, it is not really working, even though the Raps are 9-5 and currently sit third in the Eastern Conference. So let's try to investigate why that is the case, and if a change in the starting five is needed for the team to be even better. Like I said, 9-5, we're doing well. Raps are winning. All those players are playing well. But it just feels like every game the Raptors play, just from watching it, and I noticed it in the game against the Charlotte Hornets, they kind of just put themselves in a hole to start games and have to climb out of it. Happened against Brooklyn, a game that should have been comfortable. They put themselves in a hole, ended up coming back and not really playing well to do it and winning, which is fine. But it almost like it could have cost them potentially this Charlotte game. And it was a long game, and these are just the starts. But they consistently start poorly in these games. At least that's what it kind of felt like. And I was looking for some statistics to see if it would back it up or if it was just me seeing something that wasn't actually there. Well, we have some numbers on it. Really good numbers were pulled up here by, hopefully I say this name correctly, Zulfi Shaikh. Hopefully I said that correctly. I believe of Raptors Republic. Yes, Sportsnet at Raptors Republic. And he notes an interesting tidbit about the Raptors starters. In the first quarter, they averaged 19.9 points per game, which is 23rd. And they have a minus 5.3 net rate, which would be 23rd in the NBA. That's very bad. In the fourth quarter, though, the Raptors starters averaged 21.2 points per game, which is third in the NBA, which is very good. And they have a net rating of plus 7.4, which is fifth in the NBA, which is also very good. So for some reason, to start games, this unit is not working together. It is not producing very good numbers. And to end games, it is producing very good numbers in clutch circumstances sometimes, like the game against the Charlotte Hornets, where the Raptors had to produce in the end and got some massive plays out of their star guys in order to get that win. So really interesting numbers there. It does confirm my theory, if you will, on starting games slowly. And I'm wondering if it's just not the right mesh of talent. Even though there's talent, I'm wondering if it's not the right mesh of talent. I looked into the net ratings overall, and I'm glad we have the first quarter numbers that kind of show the differences. But I looked at the net ratings overall as well, and we see that the starting five, in the 129 minutes they've played together this season, they have a net rating of 0. Even. And they brought this number up. It was lower. It was in the negatives. And it was like -5 a week and a half ago. A week and a half ago. Anyways, starters on the floor together, 0 net rating. And you would really want, like, a team that's winning and is 9-5, you would really want it to be the case that your best players on the floor together are winning. But that just hasn't quite been the case, at least especially at the gate for the Raptors this season. So we're not making any massive proclamation here. We're not saying definitively that something needs to change. I'm not prepared to make that change as of yet. But I think we should start to get to the point where we are exploring the possibility of making the change. I'm using like a lot of political speak to not say anything like incriminating against myself here, but we need to start thinking about if changing the starting five would be better for the Raptors. I tried to look a little bit further into this on like specific lineups that have worked the best for the Raptors, like the specific lineups where they are at their best, that like you take out, for instance, RJ Barrett and put somebody else in with the starters, how good those lineups look. Unfortunately, there just isn't enough data to actually give us any quality answers on like what's working so far this season. There just isn't a large enough sample size of quickly Ingram, Barnes, and Pirtle with Barrett off. We've only had 11 minutes in total this season with Pirtle, Barnes, Ingram, and quickly together with somebody else. And in those 11 minutes, extremely tiny sample size, they have a net rating of -25, which doesn't tell us really anything because it is such a small sample size. Like you take Barrett, Ingram, Barnes, Pirtle without quickly, they have a net rating in 4 minutes of -119. Again, that's not really telling us anything because of how small the sample size is. But there is a pretty good sample size of 129 minutes with the starters playing together and just things maybe aren't quite clicking out the gate. Is it too many mouths to feed? Is it not enough floor spacing? Is it not enough defense? Kind of difficult to really say definitively right now, but I would really theorize that it is floor spacing. Because we've seen in a lot of scenarios that Barnes has thrived in lineups that do have a little bit more spacing because he gets more space to play. He's able to get to the rim more often. And unfortunately, like when we have this conversation on changes starting five, the obvious odd man out, and it is the obvious odd man out, it's RJ Barrett. As much as he's been outplaying Emmanuel Quickley this season, as much as he's probably been playing better than Jakob Pirtle this season, that's the player that makes the most sense to take out because that's the player that is inferior to Barnes and Ingram and needs the same caliber of touches as they do. Needs the ball to try and get to the rim a little ball dominant alongside Ingram and Barnes. Not a great floor spacer. He's shot the ball fine from 3 this season. That doesn't mean he's a good floor spacer. He's not spacing the floor for these guys. So he's the obvious one for me that would come out of the starting 5, and you'd insert somebody like Grady Dick, who the Raptors have been really doing well in his minutes this season, despite the fact he hasn't been spectacular. The Raptors have been doing really well in the Grady Dick minutes this season. And a lot of that likely has to do with floor spacing and the attention he brings to the perimeter. That doesn't mean RJ Barrett's getting 20 minutes a game. Like, we saw the last game against the Hornets. Here are the minutes distribution for the starters. They all played 31 minutes or more, up to 37, which Brandon Ingram got. And the bench players, nobody played more than 20 minutes. I'm fine with keeping these minutes as is. I'm also fine with closing. You want your best 5 guys to close. Those are your best 5 guys. This is a lineup you close with. But changing the starting 5 just gives you a little bit more of a running start to the game, because lately they've been kind of stumbling out the gates and having to make up for it. To kind of try and further highlight some of the things I'm mentioning here, interesting numbers are coming from Scotty Barnes with and without RJ Barrett on the floor. RJ Barrett with and without Scotty Barnes, not a ton of differences compared to when he's on or off. As for Scotty Barnes, he's playing the bulk of his minutes with RJ. More than 75% of his minutes come with RJ Barrett also on the floor. But in the 111 minutes he's played without RJ Barrett this season, his points per 75 possessions go up 11. His rebounds go up 5.6. His true shooting goes up 6.2. And his three-point percentage, just as strangely, goes up 23.3%. So I'm not sure how much this really means. Maybe there is a hint that Barnes thrives with more spacing and when he is the more ball-dominant player. Could be. But it's just interesting statistics to look at here. Again, I'm not saying that the Raptors need to make a change right now, but there has been a consistent trend, even in spite of the fact that they're winning, that they're starting slowly, and we're not getting very good numbers out of this starting unit as a whole to start games. So my theory is starting games, the floor spacing is affecting the team to such a degree. There's too many players who need the same type of touches that it is kind of hampering the Raptors out the gate, making them start slower. So if this is persistent through 20, 22 games to start the season, then I think a real conversation needs to happen about now making the change. Not just starting to investigate the possibility of making that change. Making that change, is it time to do it? Real conversations should happen in a couple of weeks for the Raptors if this is a persistent issue. As for closing games and minutes, you still play RJ Barrett the 32-plus minutes. You still close with your best 5 on the floor. Because when it comes to those closing minutes, the late stages of the game, it turned into a much slower game. It turned into much more of a half-court battle. And when you're in those sort of half-court battles where oftentimes you can default to these sort of isolation sort of plays, which the Raptors have done in the past, not necessarily the best basketball, but that's just sometimes what happens. I think having your best scorers, your best players on the floor is a fruitful endeavor, because if you've got somebody as talented as a scorer as RJ Barrett, as talented a player as Scotty Barnes, as talented a scorer as Brandon Ingram, you're almost at a certain point picking your poison, especially with the way Emmanuel Quickley's been playing this season. And we saw that example in the late stages against the Charlotte Hornets. Brandon Ingram gets the ISO on the Raptors' last offensive possession. Huge double comes his way. He's good enough to make the pass out to an open RJ Barrett, who they helped off of. RJ Barrett gets a lane to the rim, finishes. Raptors lead by 2, get the 2 big blocks at the end of the game in order to win it. So again, we're not making the change right now, but there is a possibility that the Raptors are not optimizing their current team with their current starting 5. They're kind of optimizing it with the way they're finishing games, but certainly curious seeing these numbers here. Maybe the Raptors, who are good, can get even better by making this change and taking RJ Barrett out of the starting lineup and putting him on the bench. And now some people kind of think, hey, he's a $30 million player, and he's not quite, but he's close to a $30 million player. That's not a guy you can have coming off the bench. Look, not an easy conversation to have, but communicate these numbers with him. Communicate where things are going right. Communicate that he's going to be more effective in different lineups where he's getting on the ball more often. And communicate that this is for the betterment of the team. I'm sure he's a big boy. He'll be able to handle it. He'll understand. He's still getting his minutes, just it won't be out of the gate alongside these other guys. I think that this is something the Raptors should consider going forward, but not something that they should implement just yet. Let's try to work it out and make this the best starting five you have. Let's do a little bit more to try and make it work before making a drastic decision like this. Certainly, though, something they need to look at. Absolutely. Absolutely, indeed. Let's see some of the chat here. Brandon asked about the pick week trade for Brandon. I'm going to touch a lot more on that shortly. So keep that in mind. I'm going to touch on that a little bit more. Envisioning Free says, is Maxey about to scorch us again? He typically does. We don't have a fantastic matchup for him. Good players are going to be able to score. Good players are going to be able to hurt you. We just got to limit it, and we got to get them back in other ways, right? Who would we put in for RJ, though? I mean, I would have conversations around Grady Dick because of the spacing. I think Abaji is a decent candidate as well. Somebody who can provide what they're looking for, which is shooting. If Abaji can pick up his shooting, he also brings you defense. Something I consider. Again, it's not like that guy's getting 35 minutes. It's just to start games and not start giving the other team a head start, essentially. That's how I do it. That's how I consider structuring it. I wanted to have more data on quickly Barnes, Ingram, Pirtle, the other four starters with blank player and how good it looks. But there isn't enough information to get any meaningful statistics out of that. I would have liked to have seen, like, if it's working really well with, like, a Grady Dick or an Abaji, or, like, if Mamu's in. But, again, there's just not enough information there. Interestingly, they have played, I think it's... Actually, no, it's the opposite. So I actually wanted to look at if they were... how good they play when it's the four main starters, so not Pirtle, but the other four starters, and then Mamu, like a floor spacing center. I'm pretty sure the minutes were bad. No, they were good, actually. Small sample size, but they're actually quite good in these 16 minutes they played with that five. So it's the spacing center involved with those guys. 16 minutes doesn't give you a whole lot of information, but that is interesting. I wonder if the Raptors can explore that further. I wouldn't make that change to the starting five. That is absolutely, like, not a change I would make to the starting five. But would be interesting maybe to see more lineups like that, like in certain instances. But they've been staggering minutes a lot better this season, so I don't think you need to kind of force that sort of thing. I think in the end, Mamu in lineups with Barnes has been working quite well. And then quickly in Pirtle is more of like a combination you'd want to see maybe the Raptors take advantage of. Gregory says, Scotty, RJ, Ingram aren't quite great in the sum of the parts in my read, but the Raps can't get talent as easy as other teams. I agree, and I think it's a good way of describing it. It is very good, but they don't enhance each other. I actually think Ingram and Barnes do, but I'm not sure RJ Barrett does. Actually, let's see if Ingram and Barnes do. I love this tool that I've just found out about this season, Data Baller. Okay, so let's see Scotty Barnes with and without Brandon Ingram. So without Brandon Ingram, his points go up by 7. His free percentage goes up a little bit. True shooting is actually better with it. So his points go up quite a bit in his minutes without Brandon Ingram. And Brandon Ingram's points go up quite a bit in his minutes without Scotty Barnes. So evidently, I mean, these guys are getting on the ball more often. So therefore, they're going to score more when the other, like, really dominant offensive player is not on the floor. So these stats kind of make sense. What is noticeable is their true shooting percentage are staying relatively the same. So it's basically usage is going up when the other is off the floor, which makes complete sense. When it was RJ Barrett, Barnes' shooting statistics and efficiency actually went up quite a bit. Now, maybe it's just like small sample, but it's just interesting that that's the case. Whereas RJ Barrett's stats stay relatively the same. Let's actually see this with Ingram and Barrett. Probably going to see similar. So RJ's points actually go up with Brandon Ingram on the floor. Interesting. Brandon Ingram's points go up without RJ on the floor. So maybe it's, again, these are smaller samples. Maybe it's a case of Brandon Ingram being on the floor takes focus away from him. I'm not sure. Maybe it's talking about the lineups. I don't know. That's a strange one. Barrett's better with Brandon Ingram, but worse with Scotty Barnes. Yeah. Oh, no, he's about the same with Scotty Barnes. Barnes is worse with RJ. That's weird. It's just weird. Forgot what we were talking about. All right, they're not quite greater than some other parts. Yes, agreed. But I do think Barnes is more effective with Ingram because of the focus Ingram has on him. But statistically, I guess he's quite similar. It's just usage goes up. Anyways, Shed should start the point guard position. Completely disagree. Quickly's playing really well. That is like very essential floor spacing. I think floor spacing is one of the key issues with those poor starts. Quickly brings a lot of it and has been playing really well recently. Shed, and I don't think Shed has the talent to bend the defense or put pressure on the defense enough to warrant starting. I'm not even close to thinking that's the right way to go for the Raptors. The Raptors have a top tier half court offense. They do. It's been a very good half court offense this season. Just to start games, it's been weirdly not very good. I don't know why. Just has not been quite clicking for the Raptors. But anyways, interesting numbers. Wanted to highlight them. We will see what sort of changes the Raptors do to try and get more out of the start. Because they have to recognize that they haven't quite been starting very well. It's not like a mystery. They know that. So we'll see what kind of changes here. The Flash says, how have you been liking the double point guard lineups they throw out there? Also, what do the stats indicate about it? Just curious. Okay. Let's look. So I personally liked it because it kind of gives you some situations where you can get it gives you some situations where you can get Emmanuel quickly off ball, which I think is quite nice. Let's look at lineups with 2 point guards on the floor. Okay, so we have like no data of it really. Well, this is just 5-man lineups. Let's see 2-man lineups. 28 minutes. They've shared the floor for 28 minutes this season, shedding quickly. And they are plus 35 in those minutes. Plus 36 almost. The defense is fantastic, and the offense is good. The defense is really where they're making up for that. Could just be like we've only seen it in specific games where the Raptors are going to win by a lot, but I mean they haven't really blown out any team in a while. So, anyways, it's very good. Those minutes are very good. Let's see like the 5-man lineups. Oh, let's see when they're with and without each other. So again, they've only played with each other. It says 29 minutes here, but like 28 minutes. So it's not really definitive numbers here, but Quickly's numbers, in fairness, do go up in those minutes with Jamal Shed on the floor, which makes sense because he's in his element a little bit more as an off-ball player. His true shooting goes up, maybe better opportunities from three, whatever it is. Very small sample, so I don't think it tells us very much, but in the brief sample size we have of Quickly and Shed playing together, it's good. It's good. Gregory says, we will not lose to Philly. If we lose to Philly, I suggest we become a baseball channel. We will not lose to Philly. Well, I'm not going to make that claim. I mean, I love the Blue Jays, but I could not cover the Blue Jays over an entire 162-game season. I'm just not going to do that. I'm also not going to do that in my summer. I like where I'm at with this one. By the way, tonight, we just got reports. Colin Murray-Boyle is out for this game, unfortunately, but we do have good news in Ochai Agbaji back for this one. Hopefully he's done missing his threes this season. Who's calling me, man? Get him out of here. Jacob, I have noticed over the years you are in love with the Hawks and mostly Trae Young, who I believe is trash. Look how better Hawks are playing without him. You suggest the Hawks are better than us. There was like a season a few years ago where like Memphis had this like ridiculous record without Ja Morant, and everyone's like, well, clearly they're just better without Ja Morant. Like, probably not. It's just they're getting good. They just seem to be getting good results. Is it because the Hawks are finding more chemistry with their new team? Possibly. Is it because their defense improves that Trae? I mean, that could be possible as well. But Trae Young, I think, is an all-star, beyond all-star caliber player And I think if you ask the Hawks, would they rather have Trae Young playing or not playing? They'd probably say they'd rather have him playing. Typically, you want your better players out there, and he's a very good player. His defense is trash. It's absolutely trash. But he is so talented on offense that I like him. And I don't think that a small window of like 10 games where he's not playing is a sign that they're just better without him. Sounds like first takey to me, where it's just like looking for something there to confirm like a pre-existing thought. I think he's very good. I'd be really happy if he was on the Raptors, and I think the Hawks are very good. And coming season, absolutely would have said they're better than the Raptors. I will still say I think the Hawks have a good team this year, but we seem to be like we might be able to kind of hang around their level though, and it's been a surprise that we've been able to reach that level, in my opinion. Momo Beat says, what do you think can be done to slow down Maxey? He always has monster games against the Raptors, constantly blows by defenders. Well, you got to be a little bit more prepared in help defense because we just don't really have that type of guard who can handle him. Maybe a little bit more Jamal Shed today to try and manage it, but even Jamal Shed was getting a bit fried last time we played against the 76ers. So it's just having a little bit more preparedness to stop him on the help defense. Maybe part of the game plan is kind of letting him get his usage up, but maybe in lower efficiency areas like in mid-range, trying to play a little bit of drop coverage and kind of live with the results of not very efficient shots. That's probably where I would strategize from a Raptors perspective there. Gregory says, we only have a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. They're going down. I'd love a Philly cheesesteak right now. But tonight's dinner is going to be chicken. So no Philly cheesesteak for me tonight. Memphis also had Tyus Jones back up jaw, and at that time he played really well. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too. It's just like I always default to that example where it's like just because a good player's out and they just have a better record without him doesn't mean they're better. Like the Raptors, the year they won the championship, the Raptors had a better win percentage when Kawhi Leonard didn't play. The season after Kawhi left, when Kawhi left, the season after, the Raptors had a better win percentage than the year before when they had Kawhi. Are they better without Kawhi? They're not. Like the season they had Kawhi, games with Kawhi, they did worse than when they didn't have him playing. Sometimes it's just coincidence. It doesn't mean that they're better without the player. Sometimes they just rise up in the player's absence. That's part of it too. But you definitely want that good player playing the games. What do you think they said? What do you think they said? We might trade RJ Pirtle and Hachi and 2 first-round picks for a 32-year-old 8. What? Hachi. I don't know what you're talking about. Maxey is frying everyone this season. Yeah, I mean, sometimes a really good player is just going to score, and there's not a lot you can do about that, for sure. Day'Ron Sharpe would be, I think, a good roster player. Specific lineups and matchups could work in his favor. It'd be tough to like bring in a rim protector right now and see like what his role would be, like who comes out of rotation. I mean, I guess Walter could, but I don't know. I don't know if Day'Ron Sharpe will really command that, but I would like Day'Ron Sharpe. It'd be a great option to have. It'd be a great option to have. Abaji, you're saying. Hachi, you're saying Hachi, like Hachimura. What are you talking about? So, I know he's talking about Anthony Davis. I know who 32-year-old AD is. I'm aware 32-year-old AD represents Anthony Davis. RJ Pearl and Hachi did not compute to me. That's where the wires got crossed. Anyways, to answer the question now that I know who you're talking about, RJ Pirtle and Abaji and 2 first-round picks for Anthony Davis. I mean, clearly you've identified your thoughts in this trade because you specifically noted how old Anthony Davis is. You didn't leave it open. You said RJ Pirtle, Hachi, and 2 first-round picks for a 32-year-old AD. some negative connotations were thrown at Anthony Davis in that sentence, which is pretty funny. But that's a little bit too expensive for me. I know Anthony Davis is fantastic, but I don't think that's. I mean, first of all, I think. Well, okay, if it's RJ, Pirtle, and Abaji 2 picks, that kind of changes things. Where I've had my reservations against this trade previously is that if you trade quickly in this trade, quickly, Pirtle, Abaji, and picks for Anthony Davis, you're like completely decimated at the point guard position, which doesn't help us. So I think if you keep quickly, I think there's a bigger conversation that can be had there because Anthony Davis is obviously a phenomenal upgrade to Pirtle. There's questions about his health. Honestly, I know he's injured right now. Honestly, Anthony Davis has been a little bit better with his health, underratedly in the last few years. Easy argument for the Raptors, which is often a cop-out, but like it exists. The Raptors medical team is great. But like, let's see his games played over the last few years. So got injured, granted, last year, only played 51 games. For sure. Year before he played 76. Year before he played 56, which is a little bit lower. But there's a lot of lower numbers here. All right, there's injury risk. There's injury risk. He's older. It's very expensive. I don't think like if you're gonna shell out for a point guard for this team, for Brandon Ingram, Scottie Barnes, you're getting them a center. You're getting these guys a star center. Not sure Anthony Davis is the right guy to make as part of the core. That's a lot to give away. That's not a cut price star deal like Brandon Ingram. Like, you're just amassing talent. That is a lot to give up. That is a big commitment. Like, that's the guy you're building with. And I'm just not prepared to do that with Anthony Davis because of his injury history, because of his age, and because of the fit with Barnes and Ingram. If we're talking about like a real floor spacing threat at the center position, who can also protect the rim, that makes a big difference to the team, and then we can have a conversation. But I don't think Anthony Davis is the right guy to really make that huge leap for. I looked at I'm sure the Raptors are going to make calls about Anthony Davis and whoever on Dallas, but we looked at it in the trade machine on a recent stream, and I kind of just came to the conclusion that it was a little bit too rich for my taste in order to get that trade to happen. So I'm okay to let the Anthony Davis sweepstakes kind of pass us by and maybe look at some lower tier targets coming out of Dallas. Like, Najee Marshall kind of shot the ball poorly last season, I think it was. The year before, he was fantastic. But last season, it wasn't that great. But he'd be a guy, like, if you can get him cheap, I'd be interested in going for somebody like that. And also, yeah, so because of our lack of depth at center, Anthony Davis gets injured, which he will. All you have is Mamu and nobody else. So that kind of plays into it as well for me. Defensive center be a better fit. Yeah, I agree. Like, if Pirtle could shoot, that'd be amazing, but he can't. But I really like how good of a defender Yak is, and I think that's significant towards the team. The center from Utah, Walker Kessler. I prefer a player who can play, not one who's out for the season. So I'll have to pass on Walker Kessler for the next 68 games until he can play basketball again. But no, the guy who can't play, I'm going to pass on. Lauri Markkanen. Markkanen would be interesting. Just depends how much you have to trade. Like if you could move RJ for Markkanen, we might have to talk. Claxton would be interesting. I don't think he's an upgrade on Pirtle, so I don't see a need to lose any assets for Nick Claxton. Irving, again, prefer players who play. Kyrie is going to be out probably for the most of the season. He might. I mean, if it's a playoff team, he might come back. But no, the Raptors need to get there. So I wouldn't go all out for Kyrie Irving right now. RJ for me, no. I don't think Ja is a good fit next to Quickly. So it would have to be Quickly for Ja for me to make that trade. All right, questions are great. I do want to move on because I do want to discuss Brandon Ingram because I've talked about it already. Like we've had in a recent stream we actually had this sort of conversation, but we've spoken about how well Brandon Ingram is playing this season, and we've spoken about how it's going a little bit under the radar. Well, now it's starting to not go under the radar. Now people are starting to recognize how well Brandon Ingram has been playing for the Raptors, and now we're getting American media trying to find new ways to disrespect the Raptors trading for him at the trade deadline in 2025. So let's investigate the recent performances and where the criticism is stemming from and why I believe the criticism is completely invalid. So we'll go back to the trade. It was February 5th, 2025. I remember it well. I think it was live streaming for a Raptors game. I was hanging out after the stream because it was trade deadline tomorrow. And I was like, all right, I'm going to sign off. If we're about to make the Brandon Ingram trade, I'm going to come back on. And an hour later, I came back on because the Raptors were about to make the Brandon Ingram trade, in which they did. And the trade ended up being something that I was completely on board with. The Raptors gave away expiring salary in the form of Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, alongside a 2026 first-round pick via the Indiana Pacers and a second-round pick. First-round pick via the Indiana Pacers, which they acquired, they acquired in the Pascal Siakam trade from the previous year. So the Raptors were keeping control of their own draft capital, and they were trading away a first-round pick of an Indiana Pacers team who were surging up the Eastern Conference. We didn't know at the time that they would end up going to the NBA Finals and were one game of winning the NBA championship. But it was a surging Indiana Pacers team that, after a not great start to the season, were starting to surge up the Eastern Conference. So, in my opinion, at the time, that wasn't a very good first-round pick. I mean, we probably would have thought that pick would end up in the conservatively 15 to 20 range, but then kind of maybe thinking, okay, maybe that's more of like a 17 to 23 range, that first-round pick. We were okay parting with a not great first-round pick and salary filler for guys we didn't even really want for Brandon Ingram, all right? Then we re-signed Brandon Ingram for less than the max, which I thought was fine. I thought was great. Other people didn't think that. You know, there's been criticism of how much the Raptors signed Brandon Ingram for, but $40 million a year, I was completely comfortable with. And the fact that Brandon Ingram has been so terrific out the gates this season has reaffirmed it. Like, I think it would have been even fair to give Brandon Ingram a little bit of leeway because he'd been out so long with that ankle sprain. But he came into the season, absolutely hit the ground running, averaging 21 points per game right now. He's shooting, lost here, 48.6% from the field. 3% is down, and that needs to come back up. He hasn't shot the ball very well from three. But even still, this season, his true shooting percentage, when I find it, is 58, which is good. So Brandon is playing really well. He's making clutch moments. He's the kind of the cold streak stopper. When the Raptors need a tough bucket, he's able to get it. He's been operating extremely well in mid-range. Like, let's take a look at B-Ball Index posting their mid-range shooting landscape. And sure, mid-range jumpers aren't super efficient shot in the modern NBA. I'm a big proponent to take less mid-range jumpers, unless you have a player who is so good at taking mid-range jumpers like Brandon Ingram, whose mid-range talent, according to the B-Ball Index scatter plot, is the highest in the NBA. And he's taking, looks like, over 9 mid-range attempts per game. So he's taking a high volume of mid-range jumpers, and he's doing so extraordinarily efficiently. Brandon Ingram's game is working. He is absolutely cooking this season. And like I said, there's been huge moments, like the game against the Charlotte Hornets, where he had that huge dunk on top of Ryan Kalkbrenner. And there's the huge block on Ryan Kalkbrenner to save the game for the Raptors from probably going to overtime. And he also, on the play before on offense, attracted the double, made the great pass of it to RJ Barrett for the Raptors to take the lead and eventually win the game. Brandon Ingram has been great for the Raptors. Like I said, more and more people are starting to notice it after the 27-point performance against the Hornets and those big plays in the fourth quarter. I know he had 5 turnovers, 4 of it in the first quarter. He was sloppy in the first, but he recovered and had a really good game and was important to the Raptors winning. But like I said, people are starting to give him his props. Like this tweet here, I thought was interesting. We have World of Curry said, Bleacher Report called us the loser of this trade and gave us a C+. For a trade where the Raptors gave up next to nothing, essentially. They gave up a not-so-great first-round pick and salary filler and got Brandon Ingram, an all-star caliber forward in his prime, okay? A C+, didn't feel like the right grade to me. But now it's starting to look like a good trade. So people are trying to find other reasons to disrespect this trade. We have Sam Quinn of CBS Sports, who said the pick Toronto gave up in the Brandon Ingram trade was Indiana's 2026 pick, top 4 protected. The Pacers are 1-13. Brandon Ingram has played well this year. I'd emphatically rather have that pick than Ingram on a 3 times 120 contract. I emphatically disagree. And also, this is so cope. This is such a cope answer because looking at it this way, yes, the Pacers are 1-13. That's looking like a much better pick. But also, when we made the trade, this was a team that was going on to make the freaking NBA Finals and take one of the greatest rosters ever assembled, who might break the NBA win record this year. They took that game all the way to Game 7. So I don't know how we can possibly be so revisionist on this and say, well, the Pacers are 1-13. It'd be really great to have that pick. And sure, maybe that would be the case. I'm not even sure. I mean, granted, I'm not even sure I'd go back and take that trade away, knowing what would have happened here. But it's really important to consider as we move through the rest of this season. It's very important for you to consider that the way in which the Indiana Pacers are going to treat this season changes dramatically because they own their own pick. They made that pick like right before the end of the NBA Finals, right before Tyrese Haliburton tore his Achilles. They made a trade with the Pelicans to get their own pick back for this season. They want to control their own draft capital, as you should. You want control of your own draft capital. Because they have control of their own draft capital, it has opened up the safety net where they can decide to tank. If it's not going well, they're decimated by injuries, they lost Miles Turner and didn't replace him, that's their own fault. Injuries are not the fault. The Turner thing is their own fault. They now know they have the safety net where if they are doing very poorly this season, they can tank. They can decide at February to sell off some players or rest players, keep guys out with injuries, and tank because they have that safety in their first round pick. If you were to simulate this season with the Pacers having their own pick and not having their own pick, their win amount changes, I think, dramatically because they know they have the pick to fall back on. If they didn't have their pick, they'd be winning a lot more games this season because they would have nothing to tank for. They would have nothing to sit back for. They would just be not quite full steam ahead, but they'd still be playing their top guys a lot more often. So as we go through the season, as you see bullshit like this from Sam Quinn, who's just trying to cope with the fact that the newfound information we have in Brandon Ingram doesn't support his preconceived notion about the trade. Whenever you see stuff like this, it's important to remember that the Indiana Pacers are going to treat this season extremely differently because they own their pick. We cannot evaluate trades by looking through the lens of hindsight, like in situations like this. You have to look at the trade in the vacuum of what it was when it happened. What it was when it happened was the Indiana Pacers were starting to surge up the Eastern Conference. Absolutely looked like a playoff team. At best, it looked like you're getting a pick outside the lottery. What it's turned into shouldn't be the factor that helps you evaluate this trade to be positive or negative. It's happened. The Indiana Pacers got unlucky with injuries. They lost Miles Turner to free agency. And now they're able to tank. That does not take away from what Brandon Ingram was doing for this team. And Brandon Ingram playing like an all-star pretty much for the Raptors is something I'm very happy that they traded for. Long may it continue through the season. It's like when, like, let's say, I don't know. I can't think of a specific example. Let's say the Raptors, when they traded for Kawhi Leonard, right? They traded DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a 2019 first-round pick. The 2019 first-round pick, I believe, was the 29th overall pick, and it was used on Keldon Johnson, okay? Keldon Johnson hasn't done a ton with his NBA career. He's a fine player, but he hasn't done a ton with his NBA career, right? Let me just confirm. 29th overall, 2019. That was Raptors pick. They traded for Kawhi. If Keldon Johnson was like a diamond in the rough, sleeper pick, became like a multi-time all-star, do we now look back on that trade and say, oh, what a horrible trade, we could have had Keldon Johnson? No. Teams have different draft behaviors. That's it. Teams have different draft behaviors. Teams select different players. You can't just compare. You can't factor into the trade what they got out of that trade. You factor in it was a 29th overall pick. Doesn't matter who they took. It's like the Luka Doncic trade from Atlanta to Dallas. Atlanta traded Trae Young and their first-round pick for the next year, which eventually became Cam Reddish. Now, the fact that Cam Reddish was a horrific pick doesn't make that trade look even worse for the Hawks. They already lost the trade, even without considering that. It obviously looks worse knowing that they got Cam Reddish out of the pick. Dallas traded Trae Young and the pick to the Hawks. Anyways, hopefully my point is clear. We can't look at these trades through the lens of hindsight. You have to treat the trade of what it was when it happened. And when it happened, that was an amazing deal for Brandon Ingram, evidently because of how well he's currently playing for the team. So, yeah, that's the point I want to get across. Let's not be revisionist. Let's not find cop-out answers. Let's not just try and manufacture different ways to support our previous opinion. It's okay. It's okay for new evidence to come in and for you to therefore change your opinion. It's okay to say, I was wrong. It's okay for me to say, I thought the Raptors would be a 41-win team to start the season, and now based on what we're playing, I think they're going to be better than that. It's okay to go back. I thought RJ Barrett would struggle a lot more with the current roster of the Raptors. He's not. It's all clicking. Darko has got these guys cooking this season. I got it wrong. We have this new information that suggests things are going differently. It's okay to admit that. Let's give Brandon Ingram some goddamn respect. All right, guys. Raptors, Sixers tonight. I'm live at 6:45 p.m. Eastern time for our watch along. Raptors, slight favorites for tonight's game away from home in Philadelphia. Let's see if they can extend this win streak and keep on going with this fantastic start to the season. Third in the Eastern Conference. Chance maybe to go even higher with a win. Let's get one back against the Sixers. Joel Embiid is out for this game. Chances there. Let's go do it in Philly. God, I would love to beat this team. I will see you guys in just under 45 minutes for the watch along. Head to the link pinned to the top of chat to join me there. You'll also be redirected right after that.